What is going on, Savages? Hope everyone is doing well. Last week I got one of the new MSI GeForce GTX 1660 Super Gaming X GPUs, and I've been testing it on various algos and operating systems and everything. And tonight I just wanted to kind of check it out using Ryo Is and Ryo. Let's do it. All right, everybody, so let's check out, let me show you the specs. This is the card that we're using. It's a GeForce GTX 1660 Super Gaming X, like I was saying. And pretty new, you know, a lot of the operating systems don't recognize it. And whenever I say operating systems, I'm referring to the mining operating systems like hash rate. So they are not recognizing the card, you know, by identification, but the drivers are there and they work with this card, so you can mine with it. Although I could kind of envision maybe a little bit of efficiencies gained in the future once the capabilities of the card are exploited to the fullest by the miner operating system, or actually by the miner software devs. So hopefully they can, if possible, you know, a lot of times they can just exploit whatever the capabilities of the card are in a little bit better way and gain some hash rate and lower power and all those things that they're so great at doing. So this is what the card looks like, and here it is in the rig over here. It's the one right here. You can't really see it, but where I'm moving my hand there. All the other ones are just the GTX 10 series. There's a couple of 1080s and a couple of 1070 Ti's and a 1070, and then I replaced one of the 1070s with this new GPU just to test it out. And then as far as what currency we're going to be messing with and mining, and you know, messing around with hash rate, or I'm sorry, with overclock settings and all that, is Ryo. And if you just a real quick overview of what Ryo is, I've done several videos. I think I even have a playlist for Ryo on my channel. But you guys know that I'm a big fan of privacy coins, and this one quickly became one of my favorites after a long time that I wasn't looking at it. And then all of a sudden I had a moment, you know, where I was able to actually investigate it a little bit, and I've been kind of hooked on it ever since. It's described as a Monero code fork that focuses on extreme levels of development, led by the complete Savage devs, Fire Ice UK and PsychoCrypt. They have other devs on there as well, not just those two. But they do all this to achieve the highest levels of anonymity using a goal of 100 ring signatures, with 25 being the minimum, the current minimum. I believe that still holds true. We can kind of probably maybe look at the roadmap in a minute. They have also, the devs have also contributed to quite a bit to the crypto space by developing the popular XMR stack mining software and various subsequent versions, and also the Cryptonite Heavy and Cryptonite-GPU algorithms, which Ryo uses Cryptonite-GPU. So let me check the chat real quick, see if anybody's in here. What's up, Bitcoin Jake? What is going on, man? So the OS that we're going to be using is Hashrate OS. It's already up and running and mining Ryo on, you can see right here how it says MSI unknown. They're probably working on, you know, updating the database so that this card shows up correctly in here, but you can see that that's what it shows. But you can also see that it is actually working, right? So it is actually mining, everything's good. It's on Ryo. XMR stack 2.10.7. So that's what we're going to be dealing with. And if you go over to what to mine and you look up a 1660, which they don't have a 1660 Super in here, closest one would be 1660, although in some cases, depending on what type of coin you're going to mine and whether or not it uses more memory or more core, the TI would probably be better if you're using a memory intensive algorithm, because that one has GDDR6, and I believe that, actually, you know what, I don't know. Does a regular 1660, no it doesn't. A regular 1660 has GDDR5, I believe, so I believe that's the difference between the two. So a 1660 Super kind of sits in between here, and because it has GDDR6, but it's not listed on here, so you can't select it. So anyway, I've got 1660, just regular one, selected at this point, and it's thinking that it should be getting about 1.25 K at 90 watts, and we're going to take a look at this. This is what is basically this is saying. It's saying to use plus 100, or that's what the calculations are based on, plus 100 on the core, plus 0 on the memory, and 70 TDP. And I've got this spreadsheet that we're going to use here for figuring all this stuff out. So I do have the other GPUs on here as well, the other ones in the rig, but we are going to mainly be focusing on the 1660 Super Gaming X. And right here, this is where we can kind of plug in some values and kind of bounce it against what we are seeing up here, or if we can play around with the overclocks and power limits and all that stuff. It also has profitability over here at the end, so we'll get to that in a few minutes just to see, you know, how many years it would take to pay off this card, mining Ryo at the current levels, current values and everything. All right, let's head back over to the OS, and let me just go to the dashboard here real quick to show you what's going on here. So the whole rig is getting almost 8K. The GPU that we're looking at is actually this one right here. It's running a very efficient 26% fan. You can see all the other 10 series. There's a couple of them right now. They're at 100. They're usually not at 100. Usually they're around 70. But you can see super efficient on the cooling on a new GPU too. So we'll go into the rig here, and you can see that right now the way I have it set up, I just clicked on tuning, and that brings you into where you can set the overclocks. And if you've been using this OS at all, hash rate OS, you will notice that right now there's not a way of like saving your overclock settings to a specific algo. That is in work. They're working on making that a capability of the OS here. So future updates for that. So don't get upset that it's not in here. They definitely know that is something that the users want. So they are definitely working on it. All right, this right here, GPU number 2 is the 1660. You can see I've got 127 on the core, 0 on the memory, 84 on the power, and a 60 on the fan. So if you look at what I plugged in, I've got calculations in here also. I believe I've got it set up the same. So 127 on the core, 0 on the memory, and 84 on the power. Should be getting about 1.23. So if we go back over to the OS, get out of here, it is literally getting 1.23. Well, that's okay. So that I pulled that information there from here. So I plugged in 1.23, but now it says 85 watts. And remember, this fluctuates. Like look right now. Now it's at 77. So if we went over here real quick and threw in 77 on the measured power draw, I mean, we're going to get pretty efficient, right? 1.0, or what would that be? 0.0160 hashes per watt, which is kind of like what you're looking at on the spec mining side of things, because you're really concerned about how many you're accumulating, how much your hash rate is per watt, because right now things are so tough mining that you have to really pay attention to your per watt cost, right? It's not like the old days where you just fire up a rig, turn it on, point it at Ethereum, and let it rock, right? It takes a little bit more effort than that these days. All right, so we are looking at 1.23, right? But we saw that the power went down to 77, so I plugged it in real quick, and that's what you get. But by now, yeah, see, it's already back up to 84, right? So then you got to come back over here and plug in 84. And you can see that this hash rate per watt is going to change. So I'm going to go 84 there, enter, and you saw it change from 1.6 to 1.4 right here. All right, let's just make sure we're still getting 1.23, almost 1.22. So it fluctuates a little bit. Not a big deal. Let me check the chat. Mo, I'm using everything, man. I use Simple Mining, Hash Rate, OS, and Hive. I use all three at this point. I don't have anything on Hive right now, but I do have the two co-owned rigs on Simple Mining still. Here's the two rigs that are on Simple Mining. And I use multiple OSs for a lot of different reasons, but the main reason is so that for content, I can just fire up a different OS, and you know, some people are on Hive, some people are on Simple Mining, some people are on Hash Rate. I don't do them all because that would be a little bit overwhelming, but I have enough rigs that I can spread it out like this, and keep the content flowing as far as different OSs on the channel and doing the live streams and stuff. So I kind of don't do a lot with Simple Mining anymore because it's mining these CCX, and they're not. I don't own these rigs outright, so they're shared. So it's not really. If I'm going to be doing a long live stream, I don't want to be using these because, you know, I'm kind of like eating it, especially if I'm like mining something else besides CCX. It's not really fair. So I have to kind of leave those on CCX. All right, so we're looking at hash rate OS over here, and we're at we were at 1.23. Now I've done a pretty good amount of testing, and I cannot get, I think the highest I got was 1.24. I might have hit 1.25, but I had to crank up the power a little bit. So let's go over here to the spreadsheet and just kind of play around for a minute. So we'll plug in, we'll go one, let's go and look at, see what What2Mine says to plug in here. 100 and then 0 and then 70. All right, so let's try what What2Mine says to plug in. We're going to go 100, 0, and then 70% of TDP would be, I've got a calculation over here for that as well. The TDP on that card is 125 watts, so we would be looking at 87.5, so I'm going to plug in 88, so that's what we're going to set in the miner, or in the OS, and then we're going to see what we get. And then we'll also check another resource and see what it says that we should plug in for this particular algorithm. So I'm going to go to tuning. This is the GPU that we're messing with, which is GPU number 2. I'm going to go 100, 0, and then 88. Target temp is 60. Click apply, and then update rig. Now, this is XMR stack, so whenever it reloads the miner, it does take a little longer than most miners do. So we kind of have to be a little bit patient with it. So how's everybody hanging in there? Hope everybody is doing well. I figured I would just put my face on here while I was waiting on this thing to reboot. Does take a minute. While we're doing that, we can go over here to What2Mine. And I already did a calculation. I pay 11 cents per kilowatt hour where I'm at. So if we choose calculate here, we should be able to get, it's looking like we should be able to get about almost 18. So we'd probably average this out and say about 16. So if we got 16 Ryo per day with that one card, then that would be doing pretty well. I would consider that a success. Alright, let's see what it's up to over here. And I know I'm going fast, you know, like normally you would want to let your miner mine for a bit, you know, so they kind of level out and get stable and whatnot. But it's just not really in the cards whenever you're doing live stream, so you kind of have to just go for it, you know. All right, so it's looking like, see, I was kind of expecting the hash rate to jump up a little bit, and this is kind of what I was saying earlier. It seems like 1.23 or 1.24 is probably going to be the max right now with this particular driver and this OS and this card and everything that we've got in this miner, right? The version of XMR Stack. So it seems like this is like the max, because I'm throwing a lot of, not a lot, but I'm throwing quite a bit, you know, 70% of TDP. I mean, we could probably crank this up and just see if it would change at all, you know, because it just, my experience so far, it just really hasn't changed from that particular level. That seems to be the maximum. 1.23, 1.24. A quick refresh. Yeah, see, it's at 89 watts. And see, you saw earlier, it was at, what did we have it at? It was like 70 or something? No, 84. Okay, so we had it at 84 earlier, and it was still getting the same exact hash rate. The only thing that was different was the fan was a little bit slower, right? So it's almost like you're throwing it more power, but you're really not benefiting from it. So if we throw 89 into our calculations over here, so we got 1.23 or 12, you know, 1,230 hashes, and then we went, where'd we go? We went 100, then we went 88. So this is, oh, so what is it actually pulling here? What's the power? So 88 is the actual draw. So we're going to put 88 in here, and you'll see whenever I hit enter, you'll see this over here change to the right number. So see, it's less hash rate per watt. Now this is getting down in the weeds though, because you're really only talking about a very small amount of change, right? Like I was saying, this GPU just seems to get 1.23 no matter what you throw at it. So yeah, I mean, here we got hurt just a little bit, but it wasn't bad, but we are using more power. A little bit. But still, our ratio with hash rate per watt is still pretty good. Let's go in here and let's throw, the TDP is 125. Let's go ahead and throw it to like 120. Let's just see if we can get it to hash a little bit faster. And remember, CN-GPU, this particular algorithm, Cryptonight-GPU, is core intense, right? So it's not really using memory at all, the way I understand it. We're going to throw that in there and then click Update Rig. You see the changes are in here now. You hear the rig kind of shutting down and the miner restarting. And whenever hash rate OS says choose miner, that means that the miner is not running up and running yet. So if you're in here and you're wanting to see what the miner is doing and you don't have a monitor on the rig and you're doing it remotely like this and it says choose miner, you have to just wait. So you do Control C to get out of there, back to the command prompt. What is up, Fold'em and Ronus? So now it's back up and running because I did a show dash or miner dash show, and you can see that it's already doing accepted shares, some accepted shares. Let's go over here and look at what we're getting. So it did bump it up a little bit. Probably, hopefully, might even go a little bit higher than that, but look at our wattage. Our wattage is all the way up to 117. So I'm going to let it sit here for a couple minutes. So based on what I'm seeing here, what I would do if I was going to buy new GPUs at this point, this probably would not be one that I would buy to mine with. It's super efficient, and it's not bad on any algo, but it's just a little bit, not any algo, but anyone that's geared around NVIDIA. But the problem is that the cost, right? Because this is like a gaming GPU, so it's got LEDs, it's all, it's all glimmered up, got RGBs, and it's all really cool looking. It's a great looking card. But I just would not, I wouldn't pay the extra for it, right, at this point, for the RGBs and whatnot. I mean, it's good for resale value. It just depends on what your goal is, right? I would probably stick with a 1660 or a 1660 Ti at this point. That would just be my recommendation and what I would do. All right, so see it pop down to all the way down to 107, which isn't that bad. But you'll see what's going to happen whenever we plug in these numbers. Whenever we compare it to what we had before with a low wattage. Because remember, electric is paramount when it comes to mining crypto. You really have to you got to watch your electric, especially these days, right? Like I was saying earlier. So let's go back over here and let's go plug in. We got 1.34 and it's currently at 114 watts. So let's go 1.34. We have it set to 120, I think, and it was registering 114. So watch what happens to this number right here. It already did it, but I was trying to click off of it. So it dropped quite a bit. It was at 1.4 something, I think, or 0. I keep saying this wrong. 0.014 is what it was at, and now it's dropped all the way down to 0.011, basically 12. So you can see that throwing more power really doesn't get you a whole lot more hash rate. I guess maybe I should probably, because we're doing CN, I should probably change the way that this looks so it makes more sense. Here. No, that's not right. So it's seeing it as a decimal. I'll play with this later. I hate trying to do stuff like this while I'm streaming. Here, I think it was this one. Yeah. All right. So, in my mind, it still looks like this is probably one of the better settings. 127 on the clock, the core, 0 on the memory, and 84 on the power limit. Because it seems like that gets you about the best hash rate per watt. If that makes any sense. Let's go back over here, change it back to 100. We went to 84, I think, right? I played around with going negative on the memory clock as well. Didn't seem to have an effect. I went from like negative 250, negative 500, negative 400, negative 300. It always came back to about 1.23 K. So I'm pretty much resigned to the fact that that is what this card gets. And that is it. While that is restarting, so if you go over here, you can see it got out of the miner. Then if I went to miner show, it's going to say, oh, it's already up. Never mind. I thought it was going to say choose miner. So it's already back up and running. Go over here. Dashboard. It does take probably, if you don't do a refresh, I think it takes like 30 seconds for this to start showing data, even though you can see over here the miner's already mining and everything's good. But it does take about 30 seconds because I think that's the default. Yeah, see, it's 30 seconds is the default refresh time. So I guess you could probably hit refresh here and maybe see something a little faster. Yeah, so see, turned out pretty good. 7.96, that's pretty high. So if we go to, for this rig, so if we go back over here, look at it, it's at 1.22 at 85 watts. I suspect that this is going to go to 1.23 and this is going to hover around 83 or 84 watts once it gets up and running and kind of stable. But if you want to look at real quick how to actually use Hashrate OS, you can click on, pretty much the first thing you need to do is add a wallet. So you come in here to wallets. Well, I mean, it's not the first thing. There's actually, they have really good instructions. Plus I've got a couple of videos on setting it up, and I don't want to go too into it because they are changing the user interface to, you know, making improvements and fixing some things that are wrong with it. So I don't want to get too much into it. But you can see that in the wallet is the biggest change compared to other OSs. You go into the wallet to actually set up miners and stuff. So you click on wallets. You know, you can add a wallet. You can have multiple wallets in here, however you want to do it. I just have one that has multiple currencies, right? Which makes sense if you think about it. You know, you have a wallet, a physical wallet. If you had a physical wallet, you could have different types of coins in it, right? You don't have to have one type of coin. So kind of neat observation there. And then if you click on the little pencil, then you get the currencies that are in here. And if you click on, I mean, you could add, right? You would add a coin this way. Let's just add one that's not in here yet. So we'll go ETC. And you can click the down arrow and you can start typing as well, and it'll resolve to it. Maybe. Okay. Then it's got a list of pools in here. Don't know where it pulls it from. I don't know if they have to manually add them or what. I'm just going to blast through this real quick. Got your wallet address down here, and then your miner down here. So that's where you would choose them. Choose which miner you're going to use. Let's see if I can. I don't have an ETC address handy here. I don't know if it's not going to let me save it. I don't think. Yeah. I don't know if I can just type in anything here. Okay. So then, saw how that worked, right? Then to set up the mining, you would go to the rig, or you can go to the dashboard and choose mining settings. And then here is where you would be able to choose the coin that you want to mine. And then you have to select the miner here. And then you would apply to all, and that's how you would set up the miner. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to affect what we're doing here. But that was just a real quick little run through on how to do that. And there are several ways of getting to that same thing that I just showed you. You come in here, if you're looking at the rig this way, you can click on mining here and it's the same interface. Alright, so right now we are at 1.21, but like I said, I suspect that over time it'll creep up to 1.23 or so, and it's hanging around 84. So that's basically what I had up here already. Alright, so now let's do a little bit of calculation on math and let's figure this out. So we're getting 1230 basically, right? I need to put in here that it's K. I hope y'all understand that. It's actually K. 1.23 K. Alright, and then we come over here. I have a little bit of information in here that's probably not even necessary. I probably should just hide it. But here is how much I paid for the card. It was $279.99 off of Amazon. I think on the same day I could have got it on Newegg for $10 less. So shame on me for not doing a little bit of due diligence and finding the best price. My kilowatt per hour is 11 cents. I'm saying that the rig's going, or the GPU is going to be on and mining for 24 hours a day. So that comes out. So this calculation here comes from the calculates the watts that it's taking up times 24, basically, right? That's 2.016 kilowatt hours per day. So the cost at 11 cents per kilowatt hour is 22 cents a day to run the card. That's just in electricity. Then that is $6.65 a month. So now we need to look at how many coins we would get. So it was 1,230. So we'll go to what to mine. And it's saying that it's 1,250. So we got to change this to 1,230. Make sure I chose that first so it doesn't wipe me out here. And then the wattage is 84. Calculate. So it looks like we would get between, looks like the average should be about 17. So I'd probably throw right at 17, maybe 16, because this one's a little lower. So I'd go 16 per day. So let's do that. So 16 coins a day. Now we have to find out how much they are in USD value right now, which is not going to be pretty because everything's down right now. So it's 2 cents. We come back over here. We say 0.02. So it looks like per day we should earn, seems a little high, after electric. Let's see what does what mine say here. So I think maybe it's before electric. All right, so let me make sure the calculation is in here because it looks like that's, yeah, it's not subtracting. You can see up here in the formula, it's not subtracting the electric. So the electric cost is AC 16. So I'm going to subtract AC 16. There we go. That doesn't seem right either. AC 16. Oh, that's a month. Hang on. It's a B16. All right, there we go. All right, so that's pretty close. It said 12 cents over here, or 13 cents. Over here it's saying 10. Just a slight variance in the way the calculations are done. I'm probably not as precise as what to mine is. All right, so given that right there, if everything stayed the same and Ryo did not increase in value, you didn't change electric costs, nothing changes, then it would take almost 8 years to pay for this card, for it to break even. Now along the way, you would be making, you would be dollar cost averaging into Ryo. But if you wanted to try to break even, then it would take almost 8 years. If nothing changes. But I think things will change for Ryo. So if Ryo went up in value, then all these numbers would change, right? But this is just a good way of really getting across and getting it into your head what it takes to actually be profitable, because it's not that easy, especially if you're a home hobby miner type. It's not easy to make to be profitable right now. There are some projects that it's a great way of dollar cost averaging into many of them. Ryo is definitely one of them. You're earning 17, 16 per day with one GPU. If we went back over here to what to mine and threw in the whole rig, so we have one 1660. I've got two 1080s, two 1070 Ti's, and then one 1070 right now in that rig. So it's looking like I would get 8950, which I was not getting that. Remember, I was getting about 8. So there might be some settings on these that I'm missing. So here it looks like we would be getting about 100 a day, right? Maybe even a little bit more than 100 a day for this rig on Ryo right now with the current difficulty and hash rate and network hash rate and all that. So that's not that bad to me. I mean, if you're looking at accumulating coins, and as long as you're not losing money, then your dollar cost averaging, on a slow drip, and better dollar cost averaging than any trader, right? Because you're just getting it a little bit at a time, all day, every day. So it's like just a running faucet of Ryo coins coming into your wallet. So, all right. Are there any questions? Anybody? Everybody still awake out there? I'm gonna try to keep my streams a little bit shorter these days, just to help myself, because I've been going kind of hard. I mean, yesterday I did 4 streams in one day. They were all kind of short, and 2 of them were kind of to myself, because I had the wrong settings on the what do they call it? Studio, the YouTube studio. I had the wrong setting in there, and it was basically streaming like private. It was streaming, but it was just to myself. It was kind of funny. So those videos are out there, but there's not very much interaction because there was nobody in the actually watching it. So kind of funny, but it's in there. So if you found this video helpful or useful or entertaining, at least be sure to subscribe and click the like and the notification bell. And I think nowadays you have to click notifications, and then I think it says like personalization or something, and you have to click like all if you want to see all of them. And I think you can personalize it down to however you want. So just check all that stuff out. And yeah, if you found it interesting, keep the conversation going in the comments below. If you're watching the video after the fact, all those kinds of little things, those little interactions actually help the video, help the channel, and it's greatly appreciated. You guys are awesome. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see y'all tomorrow for Fireball Friday, because today's Thursday, I think. So tomorrow night is Fireball Friday. Don't really know what I'm going to talk about. Watch for Twitter posts and the notification from the channel, because I'll try to do it earlier. I was bad this past week. Like, I would set the notification like 5 minutes before I was going live, so it's not really a good practice. So I'm going to try to make that a little bit better and give a lot more warning, that I'm going live. So yeah, tomorrow 9:30, Fireball Friday. No idea what we'll cover, but it'll be fun, I'm sure. I haven't drank all week, so tomorrow night will be the first. That's good for me. Not that I drink a lot, because I don't. I really only drink on Fireball Friday. So see you guys tomorrow night. Stay savage.